Today, I'm gonna show you some easy techniques for making the best chop suey, so stick around. Welcome back to No Recipes. I'm Mark Matsumoto, and I'm here to show you how to elevate your everyday meals. So hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss out. Although it's not authentically Chinese, chop suey's been around in the US for over 100 years, and it's one of the first examples of Chinese American cuisine. For better or for worse, chop suey's become synonymous with Asian food. In fact, in the small American town where I grew up, we even had a giant chop suey sign right on Main Street. When made right, it's an easy, delicious stir fry that's loaded with veggies. But in order to help it reach its full potential, there's a few tricks you should know. Let's start off by checking out the ingredients. For the protein, I'm using 200 grams of pork shoulder, and we're gonna marinate that with a tablespoon of Shaoxing wine, a tablespoon of oyster sauce, and a teaspoon of potato starch. For the sauce, we're gonna use 3/4 of a cup of low sodium chicken broth, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper, and 2 teaspoons of potato starch. For the stir fry, I'm gonna use a large clove of garlic, a thick coin of ginger, half a small onion, a very small red bell pepper, 1/3 of a carrot, 1 rib of celery, 2 leaves of cabbage, a handful of snap peas, and a tablespoon of vegetable oil. I'm gonna be serving this on about 400 grams of fresh chow mein noodles, but other noodles or rice will work. Let's start by preparing the meat. My pork chops are already pretty thin, so I'm just gonna slice them up into strips. I'm using pork today, but any protein such as chicken, shrimp, or even tofu will work here. These are a bit long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut these in half. Okay, let's go ahead and get the pork into a bowl and marinate it with oyster sauce, Shaoxing wine, and potato starch. Now let's just mix this together. If you're making this plant-based, you can use half a tablespoon of soy sauce and a pinch of sugar in place of the oyster sauce. For the sauce, I've got our chicken stock here, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the oyster sauce, sesame oil, white pepper, salt, and potato starch. And we're gonna mix that together until it's evenly combined. To make it plant-based, just sub in some veggie stock for the chicken stock and a half tablespoon of soy sauce with a pinch of sugar for the oyster sauce. For the garlic, I'm gonna whack it with the side of a knife with the blade facing away from me. This loosens the skin so it practically falls off. Next, I'm gonna cut slits into the garlic, almost to the root. Turn that 90 degrees and cut slits at the same angle again. Now just rotate it 90 degrees on the other axis and mince the garlic up. For the ginger, I'm gonna start by slicing them against the grain. Then I'm gonna stack the slices up and cut them into strips. Then just rotate the strips and mince them up. You can go back over them again like this if you want to get the mince finer. For the carrot, I've already peeled and trimmed it, so I'm just gonna slice it up first. The goal with all these veggies is to cut them according to how long they're gonna take to cook. Carrots take the longest, so they're gonna be the thinnest. Then I'm gonna line the slices up, and we're gonna cut them up into thin matchsticks. By the way, with the exception of the cabbage, I'm using 70 grams of each veggie. For the bell pepper, I'm gonna slice it at each seam. This is where the seeds and membranes are, so this method makes the segments easier to trim. This is a little too much pepper, so I'm gonna set aside a quarter of it for something else. Now let's trim out the stem and membranes. Then you just want to slice the pepper up into strips that are a little thicker than 1/8 of an inch or about 4 millimeters. For the onions, we're just going to slice them up about the same thickness as the peppers. Same goes for the celery. I like slicing the celery up at an angle so the pieces end up about the same size as the other veggies. For the cabbage, I'm gonna halve the leaves and then quarter them. Then I just stack them all up and cut them into strips. Cabbage is gonna shrink a lot when we cook it, so I'm using 140 grams of it to compensate. Okay, last veggie. For the snap peas, you want to trim the stem and fibrous bits off and then cut them in half. I usually insert a knife halfway through the top of the pod and then peel away the stringy parts, kind of like a banana. Then I use the blade to catch the stringy part on the opposite side and peel that away too. Alright, our prep's done, so let's start cooking. The first thing I'm gonna do is put a pot of water on to boil for the noodles. You'll want to time your noodles so they finish cooking around the same time as the chop suey's done. On the other burner, I've got a large frying pan over high heat, and I'm gonna add the vegetable oil along with the garlic and ginger. You'll want to swirl these around for about 20 seconds or until they're fragrant, but be careful not to brown them. Next, I'm gonna add the carrots, bell peppers, onions, and celery, and we're gonna stir fry these until they're no longer raw, but still crisp. Our water for the noodles is boiling now, so let's add them in. Be sure to stir them for the first 30 seconds or so to make sure that they don't stick together. Back to our chop suey. The vegetables are looking good and smelling amazing, so I'm gonna push them to the sides of the pan and make some space for the pork. Then you want to spread the pork out into a single layer and let them brown on one side. It's super important to use a pan with a lot of surface area when stir frying, because you want all the food to be able to make good contact with the hot pan. The extra mass of the pan also helps prevent dips in temperatures as you add more ingredients. For those of you wondering if you can use a wok, I generally don't recommend using a wok on a Western style home burner. That's because the shape of the flame is meant to heat a flat pan, so it won't heat a curved wok as evenly. And if you can't get the sides of the wok as hot as the bottom, it kinda defeats the whole purpose of using a wok. Once the pork has started to brown, you want to stir fry just the meat until it's mostly cooked through. Then you can toss and stir fry everything together. As you can see, some of the veggies have browned a bit while we were working on the meat. This is what gives them that wok-charred flavor. Now I'm gonna add the cabbage and snap peas and stir everything together until the cabbage is wilted and the snap peas are vibrant green. This is looking perfect. So the last thing we need to do is stir up our sauce again to reincorporate the potato starch and pour it in. Then I'm gonna toss this around a bit to get everything coated in that gravy. Once the sauce is thickened, our chop suey is done. Okay, our noodles should be done too, so let's drain them. Be sure to give them a good shake to get rid of any excess water. To serve the chop suey, I'm gonna add a nice thick bed of noodles to the plate. Then I'm gonna scoop on the chop suey along with that thick gravy, which is gonna coat each strand of noodle with loads of flavor. Beautiful, isn't it? I served my chop suey today with fresh, chewy noodles, but it's also great on crispy fried noodles or rice. I think chop suey's gotten a bad rap over the years because the stuff in many restaurants is a soggy, goopy mess. But when you make it at home, it's loaded with crisp, vibrant veggies, and it makes for a quick all-in-one meal that's as satisfying as it is delicious. One of the best things about this dish is that you can substitute in whatever vegetables and proteins that you have in the fridge. So I hope you'll give this a try. If you enjoyed this video, let me know you want to see more like it by giving this a big thumbs up and by sharing it with all your friends that could use a flexible stir fry in their meal plan. As always, I want to thank my incredible supporters on Patreon who helped fund this video. If you're learning something new from my recipes, I hope you'll consider clicking the link up here to join the No Recipes crew and help support our future videos. All right, I'm gonna have this chop suey before the noodles get soggy, but I'll catch you in the next one.